Now listen closely, because what's about to come out is the kind of celebrity scandal that makes jaws drop, alliances shatter, and reputations go up in flames overnight. For years, the Braxton family presented unity, faith, and sisterhood, but behind closed doors, something ugly was brewing. And now, the silence has been shattered in the loudest, messiest way possible. Towanda Braxton, the so-called peacemaker, has just been ripped wide open by the one person who knows where every skeleton is buried, her ex-husband. And what is revealing is so explosive, so uncomfortable, that fans are now asking the unthinkable question, was Tamar right this whole time? This isn't just shade. This isn't just a family drama. This is leaked conversations, secret financial moves, spiritual manipulation, and a public character assassination that's finally being exposed. Overnight, social media erupted. Old clips resurfaced with terrifying new meaning. Live streams meant to protect peace suddenly felt like calculated attacks. And while Towanda tried to keep a calm, enlightened front, the cracks started screaming. Because once the ex-husband started talking, the narrative collapsed. The victim-villain roles flipped. Receipts started circulating. And Tamar, long labeled too much, toxic, wicked, suddenly looked like the only one telling the truth. Fans are spiraling. Celebrities are quietly choosing sides. And insiders are whispering that what's already leaked is only the beginning. Because if half of what's coming is real, this won't just rewrite Braxton family history, it'll expose a truth nobody was ready to face. Stay right here, because this story gets darker by the second. The moment the live stream went live, nobody expected a nuclear detonation. At first it felt calm, almost holy, like one of those, "We're choosing peace" speeches celebrities give before the knife comes out. Towanda sat composed, voice soft, eyes steady. Then her husband leaned in, and the temperature shifted instantly. What followed didn't sound like healing. It sounded like judgment wrapped in scripture, condemnation disguised as enlightenment. Tamar's name wasn't screamed, but it didn't need to be. Everyone knew exactly who they were talking about. Wicked energy. Spiritual misalignment. People who need to vibrate out. Viewers froze. Because this wasn't vague. This was a public exorcism of a sister, and it was happening in real time. What shook fans even more was who took control of the narrative. Not Towanda. Him. The man who married into the Braxton family suddenly positioned himself as the authority on decades of sister trauma. He spoke like a historian, a protector, a gatekeeper. He framed Tamar as a threat, not to the family, but to their frequency. And while Towanda nodded along, adding gentle affirmations, the damage was already done. Screens were clipped. Tweets were drafted. Because something about this felt rehearsed, calculated, like a script designed to spiritually discredit Tamar without ever saying her name. That's when fans started digging. And what they found cracked everything open. Within hours, old footage resurfaced. Confessionals where Tamar cried alone while her sisters sat silent. Arguments once dismissed as Tamar being Tamar now looked like desperate attempts to be heard. And then the wedding story resurfaced. Towanda had claimed Tamar chose not to come, that it was her decision, her loss. But insiders whispered a different truth. Then receipts appeared. No invitation. No email. No text. Tamar wasn't absent by choice, she was excluded. And suddenly that calm live stream looked less like peace and more like spin control. Fans felt played. Because why lie about something so simple unless there was something darker underneath? That's when the money whispers turned into screams. Allegations fans had heard before, but were told to ignore came roaring back with teeth. Credit cards. Phone lines. Loans disguised as family help. A massive sum, over $100,000, allegedly borrowed and never returned. And the most disturbing part. Tamar was reportedly pulled into a bankruptcy, without fully understanding what was happening. Viewers went back to old episodes and caught things they missed before. Towanda laughing about money. Joking about down payments. Casual comments that now sounded incriminating. One resurfaced clip showed Towanda confirming, almost flippantly, that Tamar's money paid for her house. No remorse. No urgency to repay. Just comfort. Social media combusted. Twitter timelines turned into courtrooms. Fans broke down timelines, dates, documents. One viral thread claimed Tamar's credit was damaged while the family labeled her unstable. Another alleged Towanda used spiritual language to avoid accountability, reframing financial harm as boundaries. Then came the leaked messages. Screenshots allegedly from Tamar to a close friend, saying she felt used, drained, and blamed for everything. Another message showed her questioning why she was painted as toxic while still being asked for help. The contrast was sickening. And just when Towanda's camp tried to dismiss it all as internet lies, her husband made things worse. He went live again. No warning. No filter. And this time, the mask slipped. He spoke about Tamar like she was a burden the family survived, not a sister they failed. He implied she thrived on chaos, that she needed conflict. Fans immediately noticed something chilling. He never denied the money. Never denied the exclusion. He only attacked Tamar's character. That silence was loud. And when asked directly if Tamar was invited to the wedding, the answer came sharp and final. No, the chat exploded. Because that one word confirmed everything people suspected. The narrative had been flipped intentionally. Celebrities started reacting quietly. Likes appeared on posts defending Tamar, then vanished. One singer commented, "This is sad," then deleted it minutes later. A reality producer tweeted about unaired footage changing public opinion, then locked their account. The industry was watching. And Tamar. Still silent. No rant. No clapback. Just absence. And that absence felt heavy. Survivors recognized it immediately. Because when someone's been gaslit long enough, silence isn't weakness, it's exhaustion. Fans began saying it out loud. They broke her. And the more Towanda tried to frame the situation as spiritual growth, the uglier it looked. Then the final punch landed. A voice note surfaced, allegedly recorded years ago. Tamar crying. Her voice was shaking. Saying she felt trapped financially and emotionally, scared to speak up, because she'd be painted as the villain. The audio spread like wildfire before anyone could stop it. Listeners said it didn't sound fake. It sounded raw. Real. Broken. And suddenly the question wasn't whether Tamar overreacted. It was how long she'd been surviving in silence. Towanda's team went quiet. Comments were turned off. Posts disappeared. But the damage was irreversible. Because once people see the pattern, they can't unsee it. And just as the internet caught its breath, a cryptic message from Towanda's ex-husband appeared, hinting that the real truth hasn't even dropped yet. And that's when everyone realized, this was only the beginning. The moment that cryptic message hit, the internet didn't just lean in, it held its breath. Because when someone says, the real truth hasn't even dropped yet, that's not a tease, that's a warning. And within hours, the warning proved real. A new batch of alleged insider leaks began circulating, and this time, they weren't emotional clips or fan theories. They were detailed timelines. Dates. Amounts. Conversations allegedly pulled straight from private messages that were never meant to see daylight. And every single one of them Social media went into full meltdown mode. Twitter Spaces filled up with thousands of listeners dissecting every second of the live streams, every Braxton Family Values episode, every old interview. TikTok creators lined up clips side by side, showing Tamar crying in one frame and being mocked in another. Comment sections flooded with people sharing their own stories of being labeled toxic while being drained dry. Tamar's pain had become a mirror. And the more people saw themselves in her, the angrier they became at the people who painted her as the villain. That's when Towanda's ex-husband made his biggest mistake yet. Instead of pulling back, he escalated. He liked a comment calling Tamar mentally unstable. Then he replied to another saying, "Truth hurts." Screenshots were saved instantly. Fans noticed he still hadn't denied the financial allegations. Not once. No explanation. No correction. Just vibes and superiority. And when someone asked why he was even leading the conversation about sister drama, the response was cold. "I know more than you'll think." That single sentence lit a fuse. Because if he knows more, why hasn't he said it? And what exactly is he protecting? Meanwhile, Towanda posted a cryptic message about choosing joy and not entertaining negativity. But the comments were ruthless. People weren't buying it anymore. They demanded answers. Why was Tamar excluded from the wedding? Why was her money accepted, but her presence rejected? Why was spirituality used as a shield instead of accountability? Towanda didn't respond. Instead, her account went quiet again. And silence, in the middle of a storm like this, speaks volumes. Then came the celebrity reactions, subtle but explosive. A former co-star liked a post saying, "Family doesn't mean free access." A gospel artist posted about wolves dressed as light. Fans connected dots instantly. Even people who never publicly supported Tamar before were suddenly cautious about defending Towanda. The tide had turned. And Tamar's silence, it only amplified the shift. Because while everyone else was scrambling to control the narrative, she let the truth speak for itself. And just when it seemed like the leaks had peaked, a final document began circulating in private DMs, allegedly legal. Allegedly verified. A bankruptcy filing listing Tamar as a creditor. Not a co-signer. Not a partner. A creditor. Fans lost it. Legal commentators weighed in, calling it deeply unethical, if done without consent. And suddenly, the picture was horrifyingly clear. Tamar wasn't just emotionally gaslit. She was financially entangled in a mess she didn't create, then blamed for reacting to it. The pressure became unbearable. Towanda's name trended alongside words like accountability and exposed. Her ex-husband deleted posts, locked comments, then posted one last message, "You'll only know what you're allowed to know." That line didn't calm anything. It poured gasoline on the fire. Because now the question wasn't what Tamar did wrong, it was what everyone else was hiding. And as the internet prepared for the next revelation, one insider dropped a chilling promise. There's a sit-down interview already recorded. And when it drops, there will be no spinning it. And with that, the storm wasn't slowing down. It was about to become something nobody could outrun. By the time the rumor of that recorded sit-down began spreading, the energy shifted from chaos to fear. Because insiders weren't whispering anymore, they were warning. According to multiple sources, cameras were already off, contracts already signed, and what Tamar allegedly said in that room was so raw, so unfiltered, that producers had to pause filming just to regroup. And suddenly, the silence from Tamar wasn't mysterious anymore. It was strategic. Because when someone finally decides to tell the truth after years of being painted as the problem, they don't tease it on Instagram. They let it detonate. Behind the scenes, Panic set in. Tawanda's circle reportedly scrambled to get ahead of it, reaching out to bloggers, asking what they knew, what they'd seen, what was coming next. But it was too late. Because the story had already escaped the family's control. One insider claimed Tamar detailed everything: the money, the manipulation, the spiritual shaming, the emotional isolation, and tied it all together with one devastating theme. She was only valued when she was useful. The moment she asked for respect instead of silence, she became disposable. Then the audio leaks escalated again. A longer recording surfaced, allegedly capturing a heated confrontation between sisters. Tamar's voice cracks as she says she feels punished for helping. Another voice responds coldly, telling her she's too emotional and needs to heal. Fans lost it. Because healing had become a weapon in this family, something thrown at Tamar anytime she demanded accountability. Therapists online dissected the exchange, calling it classic gaslighting. Survivors nodded in recognition. And the narrative officially collapsed. This wasn't sibling rivalry. This was systemic emotional control. Tawanda's ex-husband, who had been so loud in the beginning, suddenly disappeared completely. No posts. No comments. No likes. That silence was deafening. Because the man who claimed he knew more than everyone thought now had nothing to say. And fans noticed something else chilling. Several of his earlier posts were quietly deleted, including comments mocking Tamar's mental health. Screenshots remained, of course. They always do. And now those screenshots weren't just messy, they were incriminating. The pressure forced Towanda back online. Her tone had changed completely. Gone was the calm spiritual superiority. In its place was defensiveness. She spoke about being misunderstood, about people twisting the narrative, about protecting her children. But she still didn't deny the core allegations. No explanation for the money. No clarity on the bankruptcy. No apology for the exclusion. Just emotion. Just exhaustion. And viewers weren't moved, they were angry. Because accountability doesn't hide behind tears. Meanwhile, Tamar finally broke her silence. One post. No caption. Just 3 words: I told the truth. The internet erupted. Within minutes, the post hit millions of views. Fans cried. Haters retreated. Even neutral observers admitted something felt different this time. Tamar wasn't spiraling. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't explaining. She was standing still while everyone else unraveled around her. And that composure terrified people who had built their safety on her instability. More celebrities began speaking, not directly, but enough to be understood. Protect your spirit, but document everything. Family can be your first bullies. Boundaries don't mean exploitation. Each post poured more gasoline on the fire. And then the final alleged receipt leaked. A document showing Tamar's name attached to financial obligations she never publicly acknowledged. Whether legally binding or not, the optics were devastating. Because now the question wasn't just moral, it was legal. Insiders claim lawyers are involved. NDAs are being reviewed. And that sit-down interview? Still unreleased. Still looming. And according to someone close to production, Tamar didn't just talk about Towanda. She talked about the entire family dynamic. The favoritism. The silence. The way conflict was redirected toward her so others could stay comfortable. If even half of that makes it to air, it won't just change public opinion, it will rewrite Braxton family history. Tawanda's attempts to frame the fallout as internet bullying collapsed under the weight of evidence. Because bullying doesn't come with receipts. Trauma doesn't trend for no reason. And when thousands of people independently come to the same conclusion, it's no longer a smear. If this shook you even a little, hit that like button, not for drama, but to signal that you see what's happening. Drop a comment, because voices matter, and the comment section is where patterns get exposed, receipts get compared, and silence gets broken. If you've ever watched someone be labeled too much while they were being used, say it. If you've ever seen spirituality, family, or love twisted into control, speak on it. This isn't gossip anymore, it's recognition. And subscribing isn't optional if you want the full picture. When the next leak drops, when the interview finally airs, when someone tries to rewrite this story again, you don't want to be late or misled. Missing what comes next means letting the loudest voices win, not the truthful ones. Turn on notifications, because the next update won't come with a warning, it'll come like an earthquake. This story is still unfolding. Sides are still being chosen. Truth is still pushing through resistance. And the people who thought this would blow over, they were wrong. Stay locked in. Stay watching. Because once everything is finally out, there will be no pretending it didn't.